That sounds good. Hey, I want to welcome everyone to the recruiting continuity, how to successfully interview anyone, anywhere using video. I know you've got busy schedules and take a little bit of time out during all the things that are happening. We appreciate you sharing. My goal today is to share some practical steps that you can take to ensure that your business continuity continues and your hiring doesn't freeze during these unusual times. I'm your host, Cody Horton. I'm the Managing Director for Diverse Recruiting Experts. I've been in recruiting for a couple of decades. One of the great things that I've been doing the last 10 years is working on video and virtual interviewing and really trying to help employers change the way we do recruiting.
Cody, could you share your screen, please?
Oh, okay. I guess that would be helpful. How's that, Jeff?
Yep, there you go.
Great. Given the times that we're in now with all the crisis happening, I thought it would be great to share this quote with you from Helen Keller. Although the world is full of suffering, it's also full of overcoming it. And that in itself says a lot for where we are. We've got some crazy times currently. I want to let you know some of the things we're going to cover today during this process are going to be, I'm going to talk to you about who should use video interviews, the benefits of virtual interviews, adapting your process to video interviews, and being able to help your candidates get better at video interviews. But before I go into that, I really wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that we're going through right now. This is an opportunity for us as recruiting leaders and hiring managers to really take some of the challenges that we have with travel restrictions and social distancing and change the way we do our talent assessment process. I've been working with video and virtual interviews for a long time, and this requirement today, the requirement of not traveling and not getting face-to-face is an opportunity for us to really improve what we do with our talent outreach efforts. Now, one of the things that you're probably seeing is your leaders they're humans too, so they don't really want to make decisions. Some of your leaders may actually be freezing and not moving forward with things that you think are critical or are critical for your talent programs and your talent efforts. As leaders and as trusted advisors, we're in a great position to help those leaders do what they do best, and that's lead. And sometimes we just have to give them a push and show them some other options that may be available to help them move forward. Social distancing doesn't mean social isolation or that you can quit socializing. I was talking to a friend of mine, Ann Grady, who did a webinar yesterday on resilience. That webinar was really focused on getting people to take a step back and look at what's important in your life and what things really matter. She talked about things like, hey, take this time and reach out to people that you may have been thinking about, but you haven't reached out to them in a while. Now is a great opportunity to use some of the technology that we have with video to reach out to those people, continue to build those relationships, just check in. And we're in a better position now than we've ever been in the history of mankind to stay connected and continue to communicate with each other using video. And so starting with that, I just wanted to kind of take a moment and just share and just go, we're going to get through this too. We're going to help you keep your process moving forward, and we're going to be in a position to come out of this better than we were before. So I want to share some use cases for video that you may not have thought about. I've done some of these in some of the companies that I've worked for, and they had a major impact on our recruiting effort. Some of the cases that you might use, I was at a company and we built these soundproof video interview booths, and we took them to career fairs. Now today, you're not going to a career fair, but you can get really creative with some of the video processes and approaches that you're taking, and you don't have to stay in the box. Putting video in career fairs. Most universities have a computer with video cameras that you could use. Just make that connection, especially if you're in a college recruiting world, make the connection with those organizations and show your commitment to using video to interview their students so that you can get those early in career people moving forward. You can also use video for mock interviews. So these mock interviews could be used for the candidates. They could be used for your interview teams. They could be used internally and externally. The beauty is you have an option of recording that and then sharing feedback on that mock interview. Hosting virtual interview days, that is another way to have a powerful tool to interview lots of candidates over a period of time that will allow you to then make hiring decisions, or at least get past the steps that you're in if you were doing phone screens or you had your hiring on pause for the moment. One of the things that we use video for is we do hiring manager intakes. As a recruiter, typically you're taking notes and then you're sharing the notes with your team. If you've got sourcers who are doing work for you, a lot of times the sourcer has to depend on what you share, but you can use video, especially if your team is geographically distributed now and virtual. Record what the hiring manager says so that your teams can then hear exactly what was said and not what the recruiter had to interpret. It's also an opportunity for hiring managers to actually share more information with the interview team about the roles that they're looking to hire for, and they can give them exactly what they're looking for, and everyone on the interview team would be on the same page from hearing directly from the hiring manager. And I mentioned this is a great opportunity for you just to stay connected with other people. So before I talk about technology, Jeff, I wanted to just check to see if there anybody had any questions.
Not at this point, but if you have questions, please put them in the chat, then I will call them out to Cody.
Sounds great. So one of the places I wanted to start is just terminology. If you've been working in this industry for any period of time, you've probably heard all this terminology, but if you're new to this industry, especially if you're new to video interviewing and virtual interviewing, here's some of the terms you might hear. You may hear the term virtual interview. That gets used interchangeably between video. I want to expand on it a little bit. A virtual interview is just a remote interview that could be done with video. It could be done with an online assessment. It could be done through email. It's just a virtual, it's remote. It doesn't necessarily have to be video. It's more powerful and rich if you're using video, but that's one of the terms you may hear. You might also hear video interview, and that's primarily video. The video interviews are typically done on a platform that was specifically designed for interviews, or it may be done through one of the tools that's common, Skype or Zoom or Hangouts or FaceTime. There are a number of video options for the individual as well as the business that allow you to do a video interview. It's right at our fingertips. There are two major types of video interviews. There's the one-way recorded interview where a candidate is presented a question. The question may be in video form and the question may be in a written form, and the candidate answers the question, and then the answer is reviewed later by a hiring team or an interviewer. That's also called an asynchronous interview, and that is normally recorded and reviewed later. There's also the two-way interview. Some are recorded and some aren't recorded. So you may hear terms like green interview because there's no travel required, and there's this concept that you've reduced the greenhouse emission and the impact on the economy by having a green interview. You might hear digital interview. That is just an electronic means of conducting an interview. It could be live or it could be recorded. It could be chat. It could be video. It could be email. So I just wanted to level set. So you may hear me use video and virtual interview interchangeably. So why use video interviews?